Ni hao, annyeonghaseyo, and hello. Ever since I came to America, I started making a habit of bragging about how I'm trilingual. And it was something that wasn't a big deal when I was back home, but when I came to America, it became a huge deal, and everyone was like, "Whoa, you're trilingual?" So I started making a huge deal about it, started bragging it even if they don't ask. And my friend here, my first friend in Pepperdine, also has a similar story. She's Swiss German, and she's actually quadlingual, but she doesn't make a big deal out of it, unlike me, because back in Europe, apparently it's not a big deal as it is over here. And it might be that our efforts studying foreign language is finally recognized in America, but at the same time, you can say that American standard of foreign language education is pretty relatively low compared to any other parts of the country. So, and I know that because a lot of people I meet in America are usually monolingual, and if they're bilingual, they're usually learning from home. And through this speech, I'm not trying to berate any Americans at all, no, because that is not what I think. Through this speech, I want to talk about how there can be a change in the educational system that will enable, that needs to reflect the demand of changing international society and the American people who want to branch out and become a part of the international society. So before we actually start to talk about the problem, let's talk about why the lack of foreign language education can be a problem in the first place. So according to research by University of Edinburgh, those who study more than are fluent in more than one language get higher scores in reading, verbal fluency, and general intelligence. And being fluent in more than one language can also help slow down dementia. But other than cognitive and health benefits, there are also much more benefits. Learning a language is a real life skill that is essential to become a cosmopolitan citizen. According to Encyclopedia of Early Childhood Development, by learning another language, human can increase creativity and social skill. And according to Minnesota State University, specifically, people who speak at least more than one language have $10,000 more income than those who don't. And 17% of those who do actually earn $100,000 or more. But most importantly, language is a window to the culture. In the age of globalization, there are so many conflicts that start from simple cultural misunderstandings. So the world needs mediators that can stand in between and talk to people and start a conversation in between. And especially from the United States, with the country that prides itself as the leader of the global society. By looking at this, the benefits are pretty clear. And I'm not saying that U.S. isn't putting zero effort at it. According to U.S. Foreign Analysis, 91% of U.S. high schools offer foreign language classes. But this is where the problem comes in. Different research by Pew Research Center says that only 25% of the Americans can actually fluently speak another language that's not English. Considering the 91% output that is going in, the return on investment in 25% is just way too low to become efficient. So there is a clear need for a system change in the reforming system that can make this much more efficient. To do that, there needs to be a transition of language education from high school to elementary school. And the priority that the Department of Education is putting in is in the wrong place currently. And why is high school a bad time to learn a language? First of all, high school, as everyone went through, is a busy time. So you have your classwork, and you have extracurricular activity, which is your sports, and you have to prepare for college, and also you have social life to live. So it's a really busy time to live. So naturally, language education falls behind in the priority. So it becomes just one of those requirements that you have to pass through just to graduate. And no one really takes seriously of that. But also, cognitively, it is harder to learn a language when you're older. According to Psychology Today, every human being goes through critical period, which is from infancy to the beginning of the puberty. During critical period, the brain structure is simpler enough that the children can understand the complexity of the language, such as pronunciation, grammar, yeah, pronunciation and grammar. So children can understand language much more easier than adults or high schoolers would. And also children, if you interact with them, are naturally more interested in stuff in general. So, but despite all these factors, only 25% of the elementary schools actually offer a foreign language class these days, which is not an efficient allocation of the resources. But the reality becomes even more absurd when you take a look at situation in Europe. According to the European Commission, foreign language in the majority of the European Union country, foreign language is a compulsory subject in the elementary school. And most children start learning their second language when they're aged about 6 to 9. And 21.8% of the students of the European citizens don't know how to speak this second language, which if you compare that to American standard, in which 25% can speak a foreign language, it's a drastic difference. And there may be a difference in such as geography that is a determining factor, because in Europe, they're all close by, so that the foreign language is more immediate. But you can't deny that language education in the US isn't enough right now. So there needs to be a clear change of transition from high school to elementary, the language education. And how can we make that change happen, though? According to Kansas State University, school policy has to change from inside, at least officially. But if the benefits are obvious and the change is manageable in budgets and size-wise, it can become really acceptable and be implemented in a really quick period of time. And this happened according to this happened in Prince George's County, Maryland. And according to Washington Post, there were two parents, and they wanted us, and they just called the school board officials, visit them during lunchtime, and barge into their meetings. And they finally, like that, got the school board to add Spanish immersion program to their curriculum. So this is one of the ways where you can just call them, visit them, show up to their meetings, and just bug them as much as you can. But that is not the most efficient way, because we're college students and we have stuff to do. So there's an easy way to do this, and I set up there's petition, and petitions are usually the easiest way, because the only thing you need is a support from person, and the person that supports the petition doesn't have to go through every single thing that you have to go through. And I set up a petition in this link in changes.org. And changes.org isn't an organization that is just one of those things that you just want to say what you want. They work with United States Senate, United States House of Representatives, and in this case, most importantly, United States Department of Education. By supporting and sharing this petition, petition and sharing it on social media, we might be able to get the change in the language education that we need, and start a change for our future generation, little by little. According to Forbes, 13 job fields can improve drastically by the improvement of the language education. There are vocations that you would expect, like diplomats, politicians, entrepreneurs, and international businessmen, businesswomen. And there are something that you wouldn't expect, like artists, writers, and technicians. So teach your kids to speak another language as they grow up. But before that, ask your system to do something to make that job easier for you. By improving and investing in this chance, we can not only make this world less divided, but also give an opportunity and knowledge for our future children who's going to be striving for their dream job in the future. Thank you.